Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Stacey Storino. Normally, I'm from Joe's Dairy Bar and Grill, but today I am here on my own YouTube channel. Let's see if the notifications get pinged out. It's been a minute. If you're like, where you been? I did injure my right knee. I tore my right medial meniscus almost completely off. There's like a nub. And they were this close to doing surgery with me, but I've actually been doing a lot better. I definitely still have to take my pain meds. It will be many, many months before I'm like, if I don't need surgery, that I'll be better. But today I am here to help anybody who's like, how come my stuff isn't selling? Normally I am on my live stream on my YouTube channel every like Friday at around 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I am on schedule. Let's talk about why your business isn't necessarily selling anything online. And this really is the advice I would give you. I've been coaching for years. I've dealt with product-based businesses. I've dealt with service-based businesses. I've dealt with a bit of both. I've dealt with food service establishments. So honestly, I do have a lot of experience. I've been doing this for a number of years. My family owns a food service establishment, so I definitely know that of which I speak. I am going to take some comments that was in one of my student groups where she's like, I don't get it. I do all the trainings, like I study from everybody, and I still can't seem to sell anything. And I don't normally think that it's because of a lack of talent on somebody's behalf. That's not normally it. Occasionally you look at somebody's stuff as a coach and you go, whoa, but it's so rare. Usually you know what you're doing. Usually you make beautiful products if you're a products-based business. There are a bunch of different things that could be going on. Number one, let's make sure. Number one, you might think you have a niche selected, but you really don't. It's not as simple. A lot of people know better. They know that if you try to sell to everybody, you sell to nobody. But just in case you were that person because you're kind of a beginner and you're like, wait a second, my products are perfect for everybody or nearly everybody, or at least, you think you're narrowing down your niche by saying all women will like my product or need my service. That's definitely narrowing down on your niche. That's a step in the right direction, but it's not necessarily the only step that you need to take, because it's really hard, both in real life and digitally, to stand out and to get your message, the message that you pitch when you're marketing and trying to sell your business. It's very difficult for, you to stand out amongst all the noise. If you don't narrow down enough your pitch, where if somebody sees your social media posts or they come to a live and they say, well, you know what? It's practically like I'm looking in a mirror. This product or this service or this brand that's offering me a brand experience in real life, digitally, both, this is like exactly for a person like me. Like, I've come to the right place. Finally, this is for people like me. If they don't get that experience, they're not going to buy from you. They may not even see you. Oop, I got some students showing up. Transformational Healing by Donna, #live, good morning. And Marquina Rawlings, surprise, good morning, Stacey. Yeah, I know. Since my knee injury, I've not been on task about the lives, and September 11th blew me out of the water unexpectedly emotionally. So I am going to try to go back to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time lives. Hey, Music Chick Art, I just brought your Frostin for November. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Ooh, I should put the link down, because some people are saying, yes, they check their spam folders. Yes, they check their, trash or their other, and they can't find the sale link. Okay, so the Cranberry batch, I'll just say Cranberry Frostin sale plans for Black Friday through Cyber Monday and all of November to market and sell for your biz. The cart closes tonight at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So there's a link. I will go in all the student groups for my students watching this. I will go in all the student groups and I will do like quick lives. That's my intention probably later on today, just to catch anybody. Okay, and let me just say hello. If anybody has a question watching this live or on the replay, please put it down below. Hey, transformational. Oops, I forget. I'm on YouTube. There we go. Hello. Hi. Marquina Rawlings. And hi. Music, chick art. Okay, cool. All right. So music, chick art. Hey, Andrew George, the OG Frosty is here. Hi at Andrew George. Hi, everybody. Hello, Andrew. Okay, so some of the people who are on this live that are my students that I recognize, first of all, make sure you give this a thumbs up. That's really important. Every data point that YouTube can surface helps this be seen live or on the replay. If you have any questions, I will be on for a little bit this morning. You can put them down below. The topic is why, I'm marketing and selling my face off. How come I'm not selling anything or much of anything? And the first problem really is, and I do have some advanced students on here, so just stick with me, you guys. It's not niching down tight enough. It is a rare day that you niche down so tightly that, you barely anybody that you could really pitch to. There is somebody for everybody on this planet. There's some person who wants and or needs the goods and or services that you sell, for sure. The planet is big. There's billions of people on it. However, you need enough people from day to day, week to week, month to month to be able to have persistent and consistent sales. The more experienced you are, the more this will build over time. My experienced students know this for a fact. But what's really, really difficult is when you niche down so tight, and this is so rare, this almost never happens, that there aren't enough people from like month to month to buy from you to the point where you've got hobby income, if you're lucky, or nothing from month to month. That's hard, but it's next to impossible to do. I did have one student do it recently, and I've been coaching for years. And I'll tell you how you know you have this problem in a moment, because I know you're going to ask that question. And I do have some more advanced students on, so I know they don't have this question, but you might watching live or on the replays. So I had a woman who she was selling handmade soaps, big demand for handmade soaps. People love it. And then for cat fanciers, we have 4 cats in my house. So, if you're a cat fancier, you like to buy stuff, like you'll wear t-shirts and have bumper stickers and home decor and all sorts of stuff when you're selling to cat fanciers or dog fanciers or anything like that. So you would think if you were selling, and she's like, I've narrowed down my niche. I'm not trying to sell to just everybody who likes handmade soaps. I know that would be too broad, because it's way too broad. If this was 5-10 years ago, handmade soaps or organic handmade soaps, you'd be niching down enough, likely, to be able to get some traction either in real life or digitally, especially with keywords, search terms on Google or YouTube, or hashtags that are huge. You live and you die by your hashtags on Instagram. I will put the link to my Socialgram Shortcut course below, because a lot of my advanced students have either all my trainings or most of them, and they swear by Socialgram Shortcut. If you don't know how to turn Instagram into a marketing and sales funnel, whether you're a products-based business, a service business, or whatever you are, Socialgram Shortcut definitely helps. This isn't just to be found by more people. That's important. You do need brand awareness. You do need them to come to you. If you're not driving enough traffic from month to month, that's part of the reason why your stuff's not selling more likely than not, because statistically speaking, 1 out of every 10 people that you approach digitally, in person, whatever, will say yes if they're a right match for what you're pitching to them. You don't even have to be really, really good at it. So for beginners and intermediate people in business, marketing, whatever, it doesn't have to be perfect. Perfect is the enemy of done. But if you're not getting out in front of enough people, that's part of your problem for why you don't sell much or at all. If you're not really trying to have a presence on social media, I'll go back to my first point in a second. This is where the attention is. Yes, it's important to rank on Google. Yes, it is important to do that. And 90% of people will get their stuff from day to day on the phone and nowhere else or almost nowhere else. But they're really on social media a lot. Like for Facebook, it's nearly an hour a day. And then separately for Instagram, it's nearly an hour a day. And recent statistics show that even on TikTok, even if they're Gen X or baby boomers, they tend to spend almost an hour a day on TikTok as well. So if they're spending hours a day collectively on social media, plus whatever work they have in the home, outside of the home, whatever, if you're not on social media, it's getting harder and harder to be seen at all. So if you don't have a really good, persistent and consistent social media ground game, that might be part of the reason why you're not making much, if any, sales. But let's go back to the original point, because this is what beginners struggle with. You can't get to intermediate level the way I look at the spectrum of business owners of any stripe. We all start as beginners, not just with what we do in our business, but also with marketing. Sooner or later, you know, you need to do online marketing / social media marketing. The younger you are, the faster you come to the table on it, obviously. But then we have our intermediates. They're the ones that start selling persistently and consistently. If you don't nail your niche right, you're not going to get to intermediate. It's impossible to do it. Because you're just not going to get the sales. Okay. And then my advanced people have so many sales. Beginners will probably run about 2 sales promotions a month. Intermediate folks will do 3, and they feel really good about running 3 sales promotions a month because they're like, hey, you know, I almost never blow a dud when I have a sales promotion, or they all make money. Some do better than others. So I'm really psyched to do 3, and maybe 1 a week or 4 a month is a stretch goal for intermediate. Once you're in advanced, you are definitely like, anybody can blow a dud with a promotion or have promotions that are kind of soggy. That's just probability and statistics. Nothing and nobody's perfect. But usually advanced students of mine and advanced people in business online, they make money all the time. Just some promos are going to pop better than others. That's going to happen. But they're definitely happy to run a promotion at least once a week. Some will do it more because they know that it's like printing money and they have a lot of confidence. Every level has its struggle on the marketing and sales spectrum. Beginners, the biggest struggle you guys have, besides working on your business more like a business and less like a hobby, and that's a lot of time management and other things, it's struggling with your niche. So I am going to circle back to this in a minute, because this is really the bulk of the problem that you have when you're trying to market and sell online and you're like, nobody's buying from me, or almost no one does. That's generally your problem. And that's the biggest obstacle you have to clear away, or the biggest hurdle you have to be able to clear to get from beginner to intermediate. And then once you're used to running at least 2 promotions a month and you're okay building up excitement to it, and cart open to cart close, or site-wide sale or coupon, or however you do it, you'll feel better about working 2 promotions a month once you've nailed down your niche properly. And you're used to juggling work and home, because that can be challenging. But then once you get into intermediate, you're in a much better place. Intermediate, you really have to start doubling down on content marketing to drive enough traffic to really get to the point where all 3 of your monthly promos are popping, usually all the time or most of the time. And you probably do need to start leveraging auto posters if you haven't, so that you can publish more proficiently. Maybe you're not just on 2 social media platforms like the beginners are. Maybe you go to 3. Maybe you layer in YouTube or something like that, because you should. YouTube is the 2nd largest search engine on planet Earth, beat only by Google. But if you're a beginner and you're not into YouTube already and doing at least reasonably well with that, leave YouTube alone, because if you don't niche down, that's going to screw you over on Google. That's going to screw you over on YouTube. And it's going to screw you over on every other social media platform that you're trying to publish content on, because you haven't nailed down your niche enough. Okay. Advanced, usually the biggest trouble that you guys have is continuing the best work-life balance that you can, and understanding that you have to delegate to more than just an auto poster, or maybe like an independent contractor, or maybe some intermediates of mine have hired at least 1 person and they've started a team. By advanced, you really have to make peace with the fact that you have to invest more into your business so you can scale and grow more, but you've nailed all the beginner and intermediate stuff. So advanced is just being able to do it and keeping more and more plates spinning with auto posters, independent contractors, employees, and making sure you run enough sales and that you build the excitement up to cart open, cart close, and that you're doing enough relationship marketing so that you're not just dry sell, sell, sell. Intermediate does have some of that too, where they're trying to make sure they're relationship marketing enough so that they're not all just sell, sell, sell. And really the same thing for beginners, but the toughest thing for beginners is that they have to narrow down their niche enough. Because the lady that picked all the handmade soap and the, cat fanciers, and she tried to meld them together where she was making nothing but, or almost nothing, but like cat themed soaps and cat shaped soaps, she really would have thought, and I don't blame her, she really would have thought that that would have been a prolific enough audience to put her stuff out, or a plentiful enough audience for her to put her stuff out. She's like, I understand the concept. She's smart. I understand that you can't sell to everybody or you'll end up selling to no one or almost no one. So I'll niche down, and I'm a cat fancier and I love soap. So I can do like a bunch of content marketing. That's relationship marketing. And then I'll do like 2 sales a month because I'm a beginner. She had all the goods. She was all ready, and she had her first product launch, and only her friends and relatives and neighbors shopped from her and no one else. And she said, that's really bad. And her social media is growing, but not really much. So she's like, what's the trouble? I said, maybe it's your niche. Now, if you're just kind of looking at it like 30,000 foot panoramic view, it would seem there's tons of cat fanciers. There's tons of people who like handmade soaps. If you put the concentric circles together, there has to be enough people that from month to month will buy from her. But you know what would have told her not to go that route? At least yet, things can change. Fads and trends can come and go. I told her God's delays are not God's denials, or the universe's delays are not the universe's denials. Who knows? That could be like the next scrunchie trend. Scrunchies were around in the 90s, and then they died for a very long time, and they're only just starting to come back now. So that's like a fad, really. Fads are not likely to show up from year to year. Trends are more like seasonal or connected to tentpole events, like Coachella and stuff like that. That's a tentpole event. May the 4th for your Star Wars fans and stuff like that. That's a tentpole event. Holidays and seasonal stuff, and tentpole events, those can be trends that come and go. And a lot of trends will remain the same. Like, while this is live, Halloween trends, oh, shocker, colored leaves and like pumpkins are trending. But there's like an angle to the trend this year where it's a lot more neutrals and pale pumpkins, white pumpkins, and blue pumpkins, and plaid pumpkins. So like the trend will come and go from year to year around the same time, but there's definitely nuances and tweaks. Marquina says, thank you for defining beginners, intermediate, advanced groups. It helps me to know what I need to move forward. You're welcome, Marquina. My pleasure. She's got so much going on. I'm so proud of her because no matter what is on her plate or challenges her, Marquina just step by step, baby step by baby step, she keeps growing and learning and applying it to her business. So I'm very, very proud of her. All right. So you're welcome. If you look at it as a spectrum, you're not always going to be stuck here, and you know what you need to like progress along the spectrum. And usually the biggest hurdle to clear is the niche. So how we told that student that, with the cats and the handmade soaps, and why isn't my stuff selling, and why isn't my social media really growing? And she's well written. Her content is great. So it's not that. Her products are on point. I like them, but you don't have enough of me to buy from her from month to month to even make this a hobby, let alone a business. So what we did was I said, marketing on Instagram is usually a great litmus test. I love it, which is why I have the Socialgram Shortcut course. And we do have a 12 pay if you need it. That's like my biggest offering. The Cranberry batch of Frostin is on sale. I put the link for that down below too. That's like $47 until 11:59 p.m. tonight on Friday, October 23rd. And then after that, it goes to $97, right? So let me just say that. But I said to her, go on Instagram because I know your market on there. And lots of folks should, because people do come to Instagram and they love, like the statistics show, they love to shop there. They love to follow brands. They disproportionately there more than nearly anywhere else love to consume content that brands put out, whether you're selling products, services, or a bit of both, doesn't matter. They love it. So if you're not marketing persistently and consistently on Instagram, almost always that's a mistake. So this lady with the handmade soaps and the cats, and like, I thought I narrowed down my niche. How do I know if I've gone too far? I said, search up hashtags and or keywords using the search feature on Instagram and see how many hashtags come up. Because that's going to tell you right away. If there's not like a ton of hashtags, you're in trouble. And you were like, hey, Instagram's been around for like way over a decade. Facebook bought it like 10, 12 years ago. Could there be a situation where there's not any or many hashtags going on? Unfortunately for this student, that's what happened. So that automatically tells you that there's not enough people creating content that has to do with what you're selling all the time or most of the time. So that's kind of like the kiss of death. For now, things can change. Fads can happen. Trends can pop up. And, how you know a fad goes to a trend is if it shows up around this time next year. Then it's more of a trend than a fad. Marquina says, do the cookbook and templates also go up in price after midnight tonight? They should. They should. Yes. So, yep. And thank you for the vote of confidence. It helps a lot. You're welcome. Most people don't have all the things going on you do without getting into your situation. Girl, I'm always thinking about you. And you do grow. There's no excuse for people not to grow, even if it's a baby step every day. So you are welcome, Miss Marquina. Okay, so what she did was she found out that there were barely any hashtags being used in connection with what she thought her niche would be searching on. So that's automatically going to tell you no good. You can't do that, at least right now. You can check every week or every month to see if you've got a fad on your hands at the very least. But for right now, I would not be doubling down on just cat-themed or cat-shaped soaps. Part two to this is a lot of times you're going to find like a bunch of hashtags being used. Because again, Instagram's been around forever and a day, right? It feels like. So if it's not barely any or, no hashtags being used, she did find a few. But what made it still the kiss of death for her was when you see hashtags that have search results of and or an Instagram like post. If the number of posts that use that hashtag to help index their content on the Instagram platform, if the number of posts using that hashtag is like 100 or less, and that's really all you're finding, or it's just the best one is a couple hundred and everything else is 100 or less, then you know that there's not enough search traffic and interest for what it is that you want to sell yet. Now, it could go the other way too. So again, it is rare to narrow down your niche so hard. So I was like, you might want to blow back a bit, maybe do some hashtag and or keyword searches on Instagram to see if people are searching for animal shaped, soaps, maybe that will help you so that you're not just all or mostly on cat, right? Who knows? For all she knows, dog, shaped or themed handmade soaps will do much better, or just animals in general. Who knows? But if you want to blend those two themes together, usually you can do it, but there has to be enough interest and or demand for it. Otherwise, you've got a hobby at best, and that's one of the reasons why your products aren't selling. So again, we're going to stick more on the beginner trials and tribulations because to me, you can't get to intermediate or advanced results on the spectrum I laid out before, because honestly, you'd be having sales. So even if you did it back asswards, you might have narrowed down your niche. Ooh, can you guys make sure that you give me a thumbs up on this? I want to make sure that there's 8 of you on here right now. I want to make sure I have at least, more than the 3 thumbs up, please. And if you're like, you're not answering my question, or I have a concern that's related, make sure you ask that question down below so I can help you maybe earn that thumbs up. Okay, so what's next? So you know that you've narrowed down your niche. You haven't narrowed down your niche at all or much, not just if you're trying to sell to everybody or you're just trying to sell to women or men. A lot of people are a bit more nuanced than that, or if they do research or they take a course or two, they're like, okay, well, I know I can't do that. How do I know if I've narrowed down my niche enough that I can proceed with these products, or I can tailor this package of services to attract these people more. You do have to know that you can't just publish content on a platform without optimizing it. Ooh, thanks. I'm getting more thumbs up. I appreciate it. You do have to know that you can't just publish random acts of content and just fling it out there on a platform, because it could be gorgeous in terms of the photo or the video or whatever. Your live stream might be very informative and the replay very on point too, of course. But if no one's going to find it because you didn't use keywords or hashtags, or keywords or hashtags that your ideal customer is searching on when they're binging on content, then, you're screaming into a vacuum, and that's a waste of your time too. What helps you a lot when you're a beginner and you're not selling much, if anything, is to understand, have I narrowed down my niche enough where I still have people searching on, say, Instagram for hashtags or keywords, and a lot of the hashtags or keywords that they're going to be searching on, maybe they have 1,000 searches or more. Do I want you to never use, you can go too broad too. So how you know you're too broad is no matter what hashtags you're using on Instagram, for example, or Twitter or TikTok, whatever, but let's focus on Instagram because it's the easiest place and it tends to bring you more ROI than anywhere else. That said, I've got at least a dozen students who sell on the regular on TikTok now, but that's a whole nother live stream for a whole nother day. So how do you know you've gone too broad? If the hashtags that you're using to optimize your content so that it does come up in search on Instagram, don't let anybody tell you that people aren't using Instagram as a social media search engine. That's just not true. And my students who become more nuanced in that, they're like, man, I have a marketing funnel all day long on Facebook. Same thing on Instagram, same thing on TikTok, same thing. So I'm telling you, it does work. But, transformational healing by Donna. I notice that Flick will say, now Flick is an optimization tool. I'm an affiliate for it. I use it near daily. And I swear by it. So there's a link down there. If you're like, what's Flick? Go take a look. You get a 7-day free trial with it. So transformational healing by Donna says, I noticed that on Flick, they will say 0 posts on a hashtag, but if you search on Instagram, tons of posts come up and I follow the hashtag and a bunch of us use it regularly. Does Flick have a low threshold? That I don't know. I haven't seen that too much, but you're in a Wiccan pagan niche. I don't know if that makes a difference. Because Dawn is one of my students, so I know. They have a live chat feature in there. I would ask them about that. They're going to be able to tell you. Because I haven't really. But again, for Joe's Dairy Barn Grill and for a lot of stuff I do, there's tons of hashtags being used all over the place. So that's a good question. Offhand on the live, I can't answer that right now. But even if so let me put it like this. Putting Flick aside, if you were to just search up on Instagram itself and you look for hashtags, Donna says, it happens for my herb niche too, not just pagan things. Okay. I would ask, right? Do you have the pop-up feature in Flick? I mean, I know I have the Mac Daddy version of it, but do you have that in your version, Donna? I don't know which version of Flick you have. I'd like to say they have the help chat feature in there for all the versions. I'll ask. Yeah. Okay, she does. So here's the thing. When you are searching on, say, Instagram, because that's like a good litmus test for have I niched down too much or have I niched down too much or am I too broad? I don't love students using hashtags where there's like 1 million or more people using that hashtag to index a piece of content in search. It's okay to throw that in there at the end of like a hashtag cloud, which is like, for Instagram stories, you get up to 10 hashtags to use. I would use it at the very bottom or not at all. 10 hashtags is not a lot to me. The 30 hashtags that you can use to optimize everything else, from feed posts to reels to IGTV videos and stuff like that, like you can use 30. And so 30 might be a lot. And so if you feel like you're scraping the bottom of the barrel when it comes to, hashtags, and you're like, I just want to, get the post up And I've been really intelligent with the first 3 to 5. I'm going to make sure those are hashtags I'm competitive for. And then the rest, yes, they do relate to the piece of content that I'm posting to do my online marketing, on this case in Instagram. So, but if I have a couple of slots left, I don't mind you doing, in football, they call it a Hail Mary pass. You can use Hail Mary passes for the last 2, 3 hashtags, especially in a 30 hashtag cloud, right? But like, I would not go out of my way. Like, if no matter what you do and no matter how you think about how you're going to optimize a piece of content, that it can be found by buyers, because now you can't just put up posts and have them not be optimized. No one or almost no one's ever going to find them. Oh, thank you for the hashtag lives. If you want, students, you can put hashtag live, hashtag replay, because those are additional data points, and YouTube will push this out to more people. See the numbers go up as you guys do that. Hello. At Personal Space Creations is here. Yay. Okay, so let me just do that. Okay, Andrew George, thank you for that too. So don't go out of your way to try to use nothing but or largely hashtags that have 1 million or more people searching on them, because you might go for the head fake and go, well, if there's so many people searching on the content and or using it to optimize the content, then more people are going to see my stuff. But if you've ever really taken a look like at how fast the feed that's associated with a hashtag on Instagram gets filled when it's a super popular, mega popular hashtag, like, you'll be buried in seconds. And it's a very rare person who's going to really go and scroll and scroll and scroll on Instagram. They might scroll a bit, but when millions of people are using it in a day or a month, you're going to be buried. And so it's a Hail Mary pass at best. I'm not saying don't ever use hashtags that are hundreds of thousands big or 1 million or more big. Obviously, the bigger the amount of posts associated with that hashtag, the more likely it is you're going to get buried. So don't do that, because I had a student the other day ask me, she sells purses, and she's like showing me the hashtags that she's using. And it's like hashtag handbag, hashtag bags, hashtag. And I'm like, oh man, you're never going to get seen. And her stuff is beautiful. And she posts very persistently and consistently. She's very disciplined. And I'm like, okay, you're not screaming into a vacuum. That's the lady I spoke about earlier in this live stream, for the benefit of people who are just joining us, where she thought she narrowed down too much. She's trying to sell just like cat-shaped and cat-themed, handmade soaps. That's a rare occasion where you're going a little bit too tight, and nobody or almost nobody's looking for that right now. But when you are going too broad, you aren't screaming into a vacuum like the soap lady was. With the handbag lady, you're screaming into a crowd, and it's too crowded. And unless you practically set yourself on fire and self-immolate, no one's going to see you. No one's going to notice you. Too much of a Hail Mary pass. So hashtag purses of Instagram isn't going to help you. There's too much search volume on it. I would at most, in anything but an Instagram story, I would push it to the end of the cloud and put something like that in there. Maybe someone will see you. But when you're a beginner, if all you can find are just huge, huge, huge hashtags to use and or keywords on another platform to use, it has too much search on it, and that's all or almost all you're using to optimize your social media marketing content with, then no wonder you're not selling to much of anybody. You're drowned in seconds. Not interested in setting myself on fire. Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Music pick art. But does this make sense? Like, how many of you in the past, if you feel comfortable sharing, have used way too broad hashtags and gone, if you have a microphone, you're like, is this thing on? Like, I don't understand. Maybe nobody's buying my stuff, or at least signing up to get on my email list, because maybe I'm just no good. Maybe, my stuff stinks, or maybe my pictures aren't. Hey, Rebecca, what's going on? Good to see you here. Right? You want to circle back to this on the replay, Rebecca, because there was some good stuff. I was talking about the spectrum and all. You'll see. But, honestly, have you been optimizing with keywords on some platforms and hashtags on others that you're like, oh, wait, now if I go back, I'm screaming into a vacuum or I'm screaming into a crowd, and I almost never do anything else. I never thought of such broad hashtags as music chick art. Yeah, I'm not saying never use them, but they're good for a Hail Mary pass and a filler towards the end of your 30 hashtags. Because some of my students are like, but I'm using hashtags that I know many people search on, and maybe they are. And I'm using all the hashtags that I can in a cloud because I'm a big proponent of, until the word on the mount is that it's not worth it anymore. Like if you can use 10 hashtags per piece of Instagram story, even if you're making them invisible and stuff, then use all 10 because it's 10 different ways to be found. Same thing with feed posts, IGTV videos, and reels. Like if you can use 30, use all 30. It's 30 different entry points for someone to find you on that platform, not just on Instagram, anywhere. Hey, Sharon, what's going on? Good to see you. Can all the people who just joined me give me a thumbs up, because it's another data point that helps YouTube push out both the live and the replay. Excuse me, guys. I'm dry. I'm not sick. I don't know if B-Lynn is going to be seeing this, but yay, I love this guy. So have you ever really given serious thought to the fact that it's not enough to just use hashtags or keywords if we're off Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok? Have you ever really thought about the keywords that you use, for example, on a Facebook page or group post? Because those things can be found in search on Facebook too. And people use the search feature on Facebook to find pages, brands, groups, whatever, or at least posts that they're interested in. Like, people downplay just how much, increasingly through the years, social media platforms have become big search engines. It's not just YouTube. So, and if you are intermediate or advanced, like, really give some thought about, are your people searching up for the titles that you put or associate with your YouTube videos or your blog posts on Google? And are you using tools? This goes beyond the scope of today, but I might cover it next week. Like, tools that are good for YouTube would be 1 week, and tools that are good for Google, and sometimes both Google and YouTube, I might do 2 weeks from now, just to kind of cover them and give you a good introduction, because I don't want you screaming into a vacuum, or I don't want you screaming into a crowd, because if your stuff can't be found in search, then you're like invisible. You are digitally invisible, and it has nothing to do with your talents. And yes, you might be using hashtags that are appropriate for your post. And yes, you might be using every last hashtag. Maybe a lot of what I'm telling you, you already knew. But if you're not thinking about how you can get in like kind of the sweet spot on Instagram, or really Twitter or TikTok too, painting with a broad brush, like when it comes to hashtags, you live and die by your hashtags on those platforms. Because yes, even on TikTok, people use the search feature. They do. That's how a dozen of my students are making sales, some of them near daily, and all the rest of them at least a couple a week, because they're being found in search. They're not big influencers. They're not dancing and singing. They may or may not use music in their posts on TikTok, but they are still selling on TikTok all day long. And I haven't looked at Joe's Dairy Bar and Grill. We have Joe's Dairy Bar, and that was a tester account. And then there's Joe's Dairy Bar and Grill on TikTok. We're getting to be like 180,000 on there. We really have to apply for a blue check mark. I have some admins helping me with social media on there. I have to prioritize one of them to get that done. Like, because at 100,000 or more on TikTok, you're considered an influencer. So legit, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to hashtags. And if you look at Joe's Dairy Bar / Joe's Dairy Bar and Grill on Facebook, our page is at almost 11,000. Our group is coming up on 3,000, and we have posts that get hundreds to thousands of, engagements, dozens of shares, tons of comments usually. So I am who I say I am, and I do what I say I do. It's with Joe's Dairy Bar and Grill. I've been building up my own brand a lot slower, but I still do work for Joe's Dairy Bar every week, and I have my students and I have my courses. So it's like, woo! But if you look at Joe's Dairy Bar, you really, really know. And you can scroll back to 2016 on the page for Joe's Dairy Bar and Grill on Facebook. And even on Instagram, we might not have quite 5,000 followers on Instagram yet, but we make hundreds to $1,000 a week just through the Instagram DMs alone, which should shatter your idea that you need 10,000 or more followers to either be taken seriously or to qualify for the swipe up feature or whatever. It's all a bunch of hooey. You don't need it. All right. So I'm hoping that I have helped a lot of beginners to understand like where I think the sweet spot is for keywords and or hashtags is the lower the better overall until you get to less than 1,000 people using it on like, for hashtags on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Like this is a very broad brushstroke, but before I leave you, I want to leave you with something actionable. It's sort of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? That story. You don't want to be too hot because then you're screaming into a crowd. It's too competitive. You don't want to be too cold because then you're screaming into a vacuum or you're talking to almost nobody. And so growing on social media, growing your email list and getting any sales is going to be really hard. You kind of want to be just right. You want to go up the middle. So like anything that's like 1,000 to 10,000 in terms of search results or people using that hashtag, like about 1,000 to 10,000, 5,000, 10,000 people using a hashtag, there's enough interest in it that people are creating that content. If you're using Flick, you can see like the engagement levels for those hashtags. So you can see like, are people engaging? Are they commenting? Are they, right? Because that'll tell you there might be a lot of people using the hashtags. And without a paid tool like Flick, that might be your best guesstimate. And it's not a bad place to start. But I love Flick because it will show you, is that a hashtag that, there might be a lot of use for, but now it's died off. So maybe the trend is over. Maybe the fad is over. Maybe the trend's over for now. Maybe you're using a hashtag that was in vogue, but now nobody's using it. Like that's important too. You're going to get that from Flick. Flick's not only going to give you the rough, it's going to give you the number of people who use a hashtag. So you can kind of use the Goldilocks and the Three Bears test. But it'll also show you like what gets more engagement. It's going to show you like what your competitors use. That's why when you set up the account, like it really kind of tweaks things towards you, towards that particular account. So I do swear by Flick, and they're usually really good about getting back to you if you ask them something in the chat feature. So, but I want you to kind of use the Goldilocks and the Three Bears thing, not just to optimize your posts, but like if you're going to be putting out posts daily on Instagram and Facebook, which I think you should. As I leave you, I want you to know, like, if you don't find very many, if any, hashtags that kind of fit into the 1,000, 5,000, 10,000-ish, you can go bigger, if you can't find many or any hashtags like that, it might be hard to rank in ever. So you do have to kind of make sure that these are hashtags that you can get found on, that you can get traction on. You want to make sure that you're not drowned out in seconds. You want to make sure that I would go look at the hashtag field myself if I don't have Flick. This is like extra work for you, and I would see like the posts that are associated with a hashtag you can compete for. And I would look to see, is anybody commenting? Are there any shares? Like what's going on? Because if it's just a parade of people using the hashtag and barely anything happens, that's kind of a signal too. Flick saves you a lot of time and it does deep dives in places that you wouldn't necessarily think that it would. And if you're marketing to sell and you're having a hard time doing it, Flick might be worth trying. Again, it's a 7-day free trial. I do swear by it. It's an official third-party vendor of Instagram, so it's not going to get kicked off or anything like that. It's legit. And my students do use it to reverse engineer for mostly TikTok. A few Twitter's important to their niche. And they say there's reverse engineering, but roughly it's useful there too. But that's more intermediate and advanced students usually. I will try Flick, thanks. Yep. You can cancel it, you can cancel it before the 7 days is up. It won't hit your credit card, or certainly, from month to month, you can decide if it's still worth it. They have a lot of in-house training, so it's really good, not only to understand the 30,000 foot panoramic view of hashtag optimization in general, but also, of course, how to use their tool. They have videos, they have blog posts, they have all sorts of things. So definitely try that. So beginners, you really have to decide, is there enough search volume on what you want to do for you to do what you're doing at all, and or to get smarter about optimizing so more people can find you. If you're at least growing by followers, even if it's low and slow in the beginning, it's the worst when you're new. It really is. It takes a long time. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's going to take longer. So, at least if you're growing followers a bit from week to week, and you get people on your email list from week to week, because especially your link in bio or in your profile or whatever, you're only allowed one link. It should be to your email opt-in. I have a video on my channel that explains why this is the case. I do have to wrap this up, but make sure you've subscribed if you haven't. Give this a thumbs up if you haven't. If you're watching this on the replay, ask a question. I'll do my best to try and get to it today. If you weren't here live, I get it, but make sure that you are seeing if what you're trying to do is viable at all. Are you going to too big of an audience, not enough of an audience? In general, it could help shape your business and what you offer, period. And then as you get more intelligent about optimizing for stuff you could be competitive for, you can occasionally do something that's 6 figures or multiple 6 figures for your hashtags. But my sweet spot is like 1,000 to 5,000, 1,000 to like 10,000, maybe 20,000. You have a good shot at being found. Okay. Do that. So this way, if you're in a viable business, if you've niched down or not too much, and how to optimize your stuff to be found in search. That usually is a lot of the reason why, as a beginner, you're not selling much, or if anything at all. It's not a lack of talent. It's a lack of traction and or the ability to be found by anybody and or enough people from month to month to have a profitable business from month to month. All right, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.